Yes, I think part of the reading experience is the physical experience of it, is the geography of the book, if you like. When you're reading through a book, a physical book, you always know where you are. You know how far you've come. You know how far you have to go. You know, we have photographic memories, even if they're not really specific. We kind of remember where the paragraph that was particularly good was on a page. And I think you lose that with eBooks. It's like one long scroll that goes through this piece of plastic, which isn't very pretty. They aren't very pretty, eBooks. And I found that the books that I've read on them, I'm not sure that I actually have retained the sense, and maybe I don't have that geographical grounding that I really wish I had and hold on to. Oh, it was wonderful. It's wonderful when you finally get the book. They courier a book to you from the publisher, and it's a wonderful feeling to hold it. Not quite the same thing to hold a Kindle or a Sony e-reader or whatever and look at it's more like looking at it on a computer, and it's not as sexy. And I happen to be really tactile writer myself. I write longhand into notebooks, and then I type it into the computer. So I do use a computer, but I really like to have the feel of those pages and the ink. And so for me, I think a physical book is a similar feeling, that it's always going to be a very tactile experience, and that's part of the whole process of reading and enjoying a story. I try not to be too OCD about it, but I do have, there are particular pens I prefer, which are fountain pens that are throwaway, because I'm left-handed, and normal fountain pens don't work. I've been given a couple, and I just get ink all over the place. But these throwaway fountain pens work perfectly. And at the beginning of the writing process, I always buy a notebook that seems to suit the subject that I'm writing, the subject matter. So when I was writing a book about some medieval tapestries, I chose this notebook that was of burgundy velvet, the color and feel of the tapestries. I always enjoy going out and getting that. So the last book I wrote was about fossils, and I got this wonderful marbled cover that looked a bit like stones on a beach. So that's really important to me. I usually tend to write at home. I'm not one of those people who can go and sit in a cafe, even though I write longhand. I don't like that. I need to focus at home. I often sit in my office, or if I have to get away from the computer, which sucks you in and tries to distract you with Facebook and Twitter and all that, I will go downstairs and sit in the living room with my feet up on the coffee table and just write that way. I think that I write longhand because I think the sentences at about the speed that I write. I actually type quite fast, so it slows me down. I think about each word as I'm writing it, and I'm forced to really consider each word. Also, when I've written a bit, and I start fiddling around with it, changing things, editing things, moving things, I can see what changes I've made once I've made them. There's like a map of them, a road map of my writing. Whereas when you do it on computer and you change, you can't really see the changes. It all just looks perfect. It looks perfectly almost typeset already. And I think that that's too seductive, and it doesn't allow you to really look at sentences and paragraphs and the structure of it and make the kind of editing changes that you really need to make to get the writing to work and to sing. Some of the books, Girl with a Pearl Earring, I told all from one point of view. But several of my other books I've told from multiple points of view. One book I even told from 12 different points of view, but I like that overlap. It's like getting a lot of different perspectives. It's like having two eyes. You know, instead of one eye, you have a couple of eyes, and it gives you that stereoscopic, a real three-dimensional feel. And that's what I like to do with all of those different voices. Third person has always been hard for me, and I think the day I can finally crack third person, I will have really become a mature writer. Right now I feel like an adolescent writer. I love first person. It's so easy to describe a person's personality by making them say things, by having them look out through their eyes. You really get to know the interior of their brain, and it's so easy. I can't understand it when writers say they have a hard time with it, because the world does seem to divide into writers who prefer either first person or third person, and I'm definitely in the first person camp.